Episode 2 of Lovely Runner picks up with Im-sol crying in the rain as Sung-yi approaches and offers her his umbrella. Concerned, Sung-yi asks why she's upset, triggering memories for Im-sol of their encounter in the future where he asked the same question. As she recalls more, her tears intensify, attracting the attention of onlookers who speculate about their situation. To avoid further attention, Sung-yi leads Im-sol to a secluded spot under a nearby building where they can wait out the rain. Im-sol feels embarrassed by the attention and can't help stealing glances at Sung-yi while he remains puzzled by her behavior. Eventually, she opens up to him, revealing that she's a fan of his swimming and that he reminds her of her beloved old dog. Im-sol tries to convince Sung-yi that her dog Otter was an amazing swimmer just like him, but even she struggles to believe her own story. Sung-yi is understandably skeptical and doesn't buy her explanation. He returns the watch to her, prompting Im-sol to remember the embarrassing things she said to him the day before. Feeling flustered, she hastily grabs the umbrella from him and makes a quick getaway. Back in her classroom, Im-sol's excitement at seeing her classmates again after her strange encounter with Sung-yi is palpable. She acts as though she hasn't seen them in ages, but her classmates are puzzled by her unusual behavior. Meanwhile, Hyunju grows increasingly concerned about Im-sol's sudden departure from class. At home, Bok-soon engages in conversation with her neighbor, Kwon, while tidying up. Concerned about finding a tenant for the neighboring house, Bok-soon seeks advice from Ms. Kwon, who suggests selling the house and buying an apartment in Pangil. Bok-soon also vents her frustration about Ryu Sun-jae, who apparently rented a movie and failed to return it. When she calls him, Sun-jae denies ever renting the movie, much to her annoyance. She shares her annoyance with Ms. Kwon, who listens sympathetically. Their conversation is briefly interrupted by MGM, who is practicing for a role as a monk as he aspires to be an actor. Meanwhile, at school, Im-sol finds it difficult to focus as she grapples with the idea of having time traveled. She becomes fixated on the watch, convinced it holds the key to her time jumps. In a moment of curiosity, she accidentally presses the button on the watch, hoping for another time jump, but nothing happens. When the teacher calls on her to solve a math quiz, Im-sol fabricates an excuse about having stomach cramps to avoid the task. The teacher sends her to the infirmary, but instead she heads to Sung-yi's school. At the gym, Im-sol catches sight of Sung-yi from afar. However, her attention is diverted by the smell of cigarettes nearby, prompting her to investigate. She discovers 3 boys smoking and prepares to confront them, but Tae-sung suddenly appears, intimidating the boys. Despite his confidence, Im-sol feels compelled to step in. However, more bullies arrive, forcing Tae-sung to grab her arm and urge her to flee. They manage to escape, finding a hiding spot to evade the bullies. In the aftermath, Tae-sung decides to smoke the cigarettes they found, but Im-sol tries to stop him. In that moment, she recalls her past crush on him. Tae-sung, a rebellious and attractive bad boy who was also a member of a band, finds Im-sol's behavior odd, especially considering they had just met the day before. Their argument catches the attention of a teacher, and Tae-sung makes a quick escape, leaving Im-sol with the cigarettes and lighter. Despite her attempts to explain, the teacher refuses to believe her story and assigns her the punishment of kneeling in front of the school. Sung-yi notices her, but he mistakenly believes she's a smoker. He warns her about the dangers of smoking and reveals that the CCTV camera isn't functional, so she can leave without being caught by the teacher. Taking his advice, she heads out and unexpectedly encounters Tae-sung once more. He advises her to steer clear of his conflicts in the future. Their conversation is interrupted by another girl who seems interested in Tae-sung. Tae-sung leaves to avoid the situation, leaving Im-sol to deal with the girl and her friends who warn her to stay away from Tae-sung. Later, Im-sol seeks advice from Hyunju on how to approach someone she likes. Despite Hyunju's reminder of the importance of first impressions, Im-sol's attempt at impressing Tae-sung didn't quite go as planned. Hyunju concludes that Im-sol's efforts are futile, but suggests sending a friend request on social media to her new crush. She questions how quickly Im-sol moved on from Tae-sung's rejection, unaware that Im-sol had actually confessed her feelings to Tae-sung the previous day, only to be turned down. However, Im-sol's memory of this event has been altered due to the time travel experience. She later discovers the love letter she wrote to Tae-sung at home, leading to some teasing from Im-jeom. While Sung-yi is diligently focusing on his swimming improvement, he notices Im-sol's friend request but decides to reject it. The next morning, they coincidentally meet at the bus stop, leaving Im-sol feeling a bit down. However, she sees this as an opportunity to return Sung-yi's umbrella and initiate a conversation. During the bus ride, Sung-yi comes to her rescue when she almost falls. Upon reaching their stop, the crowded bus causes Im-sol to struggle, resulting in her dropping the umbrella and being unable to get off. Showing his gallant side, Sung-yi chases after the bus and convinces the driver to halt, earning admiration from onlookers, including some enamored girls. However, Sung-yi denies any noble intentions, stating he merely wanted his umbrella back. Nonetheless, Im-sol is impressed by his confident demeanor. Their conversation shifts to the friend request, with Sung-yi hinting that he rejected it because he believed she was a smoker. In response, Im-sol daringly challenges him to smell her fingers for any traces of cigarettes, which he declines. In the midst of their banter, Im-sol accidentally pokes his nose, much to the amusement of In-hyuk, who witnesses the playful exchange and begins teasing Sung-yi, expressing surprise at Im-sol's unexpected attention toward their friend. Sung-yi is taken aback when In-hyuk informs him about Im-sol's alleged crush on Tae-sung and her secret gestures of affection. Though Sung-yi claims ignorance about Tae-sung, he appears visibly upset by the revelation. Meanwhile, Im-sol stumbles upon a banner advertising a swimming competition, triggering a recollection of Sung-yi's career-ending injury, which he had discussed in a televised interview. Determined to alter his fate, she resolves to prevent Sung-yi from participating in the upcoming competition. Initially attempting to warn Sung-yi about the future, Im-sol finds herself stymied by time freezes whenever she broaches the subject. Undeterred, she shifts her approach, recognizing Sung-yi's determination to return to swimming despite his ongoing recovery from surgery. Im-sol becomes unwavering in her efforts to dissuade him, urging him to consider the state of his arm before committing to the competition. Amidst this, Sung-yi faces mockery from his jealous teammate Hyun-gu, who fails to grasp the gravity of Sung-yi's situation. Despite the challenges, Im-sol remains steadfast in her mission to alter Sung-yi's course and prevent the tragedy that looms ahead. While Sung-yi's dad and Im-sol's mom continue their argument over the rented movie, Tae-sung finds himself in trouble again, this time reported to the police for another fight. His dad, a lieutenant, picks him up, hinting at their strained relationship. Meanwhile, Im-sol concocts a plan to dissuade Sung-yi from competing. Disguised as an elderly woman with supposed mystical abilities, she intercepts Sung-yi on the street, soliciting donations before delivering a prophecy. Im-sol warns Sung-yi of a water ghost haunting him, cautioning him to avoid water for 3 days. She points out his shoulder injury and moles to enhance her credibility. Despite feeling uneasy, Sung-yi pledges to abstain from water, eager to escape the peculiar encounter. Yet Im-sol remains uncertain of her success in deterring Sung-yi from the impending competition. On her way home, Im-sol encounters Tae-sung and helps tend to his wound while attempting to reason with him. She implores him to consider the feelings of his parents and strive for less trouble. Unfortunately, Tae-sung reveals his belief that his parents wouldn't care if he dropped out of school. Despite their conversation, things take a turn when Tae-sung accidentally soils the money Sung-yi gave Im-sol, sparking her anger. As she heads home, Tae-sung follows, offering apologies. Their exchange is interrupted by the unexpected arrival of Sung-yi, catching Im-sol off guard. Accused by Sung-yi of ridiculing him, Im-sol stands her ground, insisting she was genuinely concerned for his safety. To her surprise, she discovers that Sung-yi is her neighbor. Later that evening, Sung-yi finds it difficult to focus on meditation, his thoughts consumed by Im-sol's warning. Deciding to return to school and resume training, he slips out of his house unnoticed. Im-sol, observing his departure, resolves to follow him. At school, Im-sol stumbles upon Hyun-gu attempting to prank Sung-yi by stealing his pants. Sung-yi, who holds superstitions about swimming in the same pants he practiced with the day before, is startled by the commotion. Hyun-gu and his friend hastily flee upon hearing Sung-yi's approach, leaving Im-sol to hide in the towel rack where Sung-yi discovers her. Misinterpreting her presence, Sung-yi accuses Im-sol of attempting to steal his pants, to which she tries to explain herself. However, every time she mentions being from the future, time inexplicably freezes. Opting for a different approach, she claims it was all just a dream, but Sung-yi remains unconvinced and frustrated, unable to comprehend her unusual behavior and motivations. As Im-sol walks home, she finds herself in a perilous situation as she attempts to cross the road. In the midst of her panic, memories of her past accident flood her mind, causing her to freeze in the middle of the street. With an oncoming car heading straight towards her, the situation becomes dire. Suddenly, a familiar figure rushes to her rescue. It's Sung-yi. In a swift and heroic gesture, Sung-yi pulls Im-sol out of harm's way, preventing the collision just in time. Overwhelmed by the intensity of the moment, Im-sol faints in his arms, her heart racing with a mix of gratitude and confusion. In the epilogue, it's revealed that Sung-yi harbored a secret crush on Im-sol ever since their initial encounter. Despite Im-sol mistaking him for the delivery guy during their first meeting, Sung-yi was always kind and attentive towards her. Little did she know Sung-yi was their new neighbor all along, quietly watching out for her from afar. Im-sol remains unaware of the countless times Sung-yi had silently been there for her, his feelings hidden beneath a veil of anonymity. Looking back, Sung-yi was taken aback when Im-sol suddenly began to notice him and confessed her love out of the blue. His unintentional denial of her friend request stemmed from the surprise of his father barging into his room, causing him to accidentally click the deny button. As the episode draws to a close, a glimpse into the future reveals that Sung-yi kept a picture of them as teenagers in his hotel room on the day of his death.